Hello, and thank you for joining us on this edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Today on the program, Akeredolu replies El-Rufai as says anti-open grazing law has come to stay, as Governor Masari laments that bandits outnumber security personnel. Professor Patatomi raises the alarm, says Nigeria risks falling into another debt profile with unrestrained borrowing. And later on the show, Governor Zulum suspends rector of Ramat Polytechnic over poor management. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Lekon Shote. Journalist Hangout starts now. The smear campaign about the ban on open grazing by governors in southern Nigeria may just begin to get fiercer, responding to a comment by Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State that anti-open grazing law passed by the Southwest governors isn't implementable. The Ondo State helmsman Oluwarotimi Akeredolu insists that the legislation has come to stay. Well, speaking through the State Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Donald Ojogo, Governor Akeredolu said such statement encourages anarchy. Meanwhile, Katsina State Governor Aminu Masari says bandits in the northwest outnumber security personnel in the zone. And Governor Masari also accused the military and the police of not giving the vigilante groups the necessary support. But first, let's take you to Osun State, where herdsmen have promised by the anti-open grazing law enacted by the state government.
Osun State Governor recently signed into law the anti-grazing bill passed by the State House of Assembly. Now, the law is operational. The state government summoned a meeting with the Fulani elders to sensitize them on the reason for the enactment of the anti-open grazing law and the need to comply with it.
Majority of those Fulani, they are not speaking Yoruba. Some of them does not even understand English. And there is a need for us to engage them, to enlighten them on the law, because the law is made for people, not for animals. So, and those people we are making the law for, there is a need for us to enlighten them on the content in that law.
Critical stakeholders, including the Commissioner for Agriculture and the Special Advisor to the Governor on Security, attended the meeting.
If anybody runs foul of the law will take its course. And we have explained to ourselves, in as much as herders, farmers have been working together without any problem, we will still advise that they continue to work together.
Laws are supposed to be obeyed. And the reason why we are closing these laws is because of the conflict between the herders and the farmers, and how to put a stop to it. We are not trying to create another crisis. We are trying to find a solution to a major problem. In developed worlds, we don't see cattle being roaming the streets of their countries, and we travel there to go and see what's happening in these developed countries.
Except for isolated cases, Osun has been relatively peaceful, and the elders expressed their readiness to sustain the existing peace with the farmers.
We are happy that they convened this meeting because we believe the anti-open grazing law will make things more easier for us. We were born and brought up here. We never experienced crisis before now.
The elders also promised to cooperate with the government by complying with all stipulations in the latest anti-open grazing law. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Osogbo.
Well, let's get down to discussions as I have with me Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Lekon Shote. So let's begin with you now, Babajide. Well, let's start with what the governor of Kaduna State mentioned. Moving towards ranching, well, according to him, can't be done overnight. It requires a process, and the legislation, as a passage of the legislation, he believes can't be implemented. But what do you make of this argument, knowing that there should be a process and the legislation, well, according to him, is more for a political game, more or less?
He said it's a political game. How would he feel if someone said all of those directives that he and his colleagues from the Northwest, colleague governors, gave, including stopping people from moving from one point to another, closing of cattle markets and the rest? How will Governor El-Rufai feel if someone said those moves were political? I mean, we accuse governors of not taking action, always waiting for Mr. President to do everything, this and that. Now, governors are taking steps to ensure that we have peace in their states. Yet, some of us will continue to complain. And amongst the governors, we have people who are complaining. I mean, it makes no sense. Let us even see whether this thing will work. And from what we have seen in Osun State, headsmen came out to say, look, we are ready to abide by this law. We want peace. We've lived in these communities for many years. You can see a Fulani man who is now looking extremely like a Yoruba man.
With the surname of Abacha.
Everything adopted. Some of them, they've been there for generations. Where do they go? It's just like going to Obalende or Agege here and say, oh, anybody who is of Hausa Fulani extraction must leave. To where? Where do they go? We are the architects of our own misfortunes. We see the governor of Katsina State saying, look, we have to form vigilantes. 7 governors from the Northwest, they are coming together to form vigilantes. How will El-Rufai feel if someone said, no, that's just political, it's not implementable, it will not work? Why don't you just have the patience? Let us even see this thing take off. And of course, what El-Rufai said is not the truth. It's far away. Some of us are not as far away as he is. We are in position to monitor what's going on. And we can see that even these clashes have gone down. In Ondo State now, in the past, they used to see herdsmen roaming with cattle in broad daylight in the Akure areas. But today, in fact, a friend of mine was telling me that the last time he saw them was almost 5 months ago. Because you know that your cattle will be impounded. And already more than 50 cattle have been impounded. 3 suspects arrested in the last few weeks. If you are a first-time offender, what will happen is they will make you pay for the destruction that your cattle wrought on a farmland. Some form of restitution. But if you are not a first offender, you risk going to 3 years in jail. And these headsmen are saying, please, we don't want to go to jail. We are ready to pay some form of restitution for the destruction caused by our cattle. So, you trespass on people's farmland, you destroy a whole year's hard work. And you don't want, you think it won't lead to violence. That's why we have this violence. People like the governor of Kaduna State should just keep quiet. When we have problems, we will find a way to solve those problems. We won't just sit by, fold our arms. We were accusing them. They abuse them. They say, oh, they only take security votes. Now they are coming up with legislation to secure their states. And so people are saying, no, it will not work. No, it will not work. Something that is already working. In Ondo State now, if you see cattle roaming around, it's probably in the Akoko area. And it's no longer even rampant. People who are in Ondo State can testify to what I'm saying. So a man so far away in Kaduna is not in position to know whether a law
Is working on
can work in a part. You are too far away. You are coming up with laws in your state. Nobody is saying that your laws are not implementable. But you can say that about another person. I mean, it's wrong.
Lekon, saying that all of this is to quell the level of insecurity, in the country, what is the guarantee now that this legislation perhaps might be the uhuru or the answer we'll all be looking for, that it will finally end the farmer herders clashes in the country today?
Well, I have a little problem. You will see that in the Northwest, even the Northeast, they started talking about vigilantes. And it shocks me that a region in Nigeria will be talking seriously about vigilantes, which is just another way of having regional police or state police, if you like. And another group decides to have Amotekun. Even the Minister of Justice is saying it is illegal, and is fighting so hard against it, and is making it look as if. And we are talking about security of the people of Nigeria, regardless of your religion, regardless of your region, regardless of your state of origin, regardless of because in any case, the first job of any government is security. So, if we are not going to agree that these are the things that we need to do, it becomes a problem, especially if you recall that I think it was credited to Governor El-Rufai that he said that, well, Nigerian Governors Forum has decided not to discuss open grazing in the meantime. Why? Why not discuss it? Why not discuss it and confront the bogeyman and solve the problem of security in this country once and for all? Why would we be playing ostrich, with serious life and death issues? But to, probably back up the argument of Babajide on the issue of him arguing that it won't work. I just, look at it as some kind of bargaining chip for him. I think I've heard him say that if the federal government gives him 140 billion naira or something, then he will set up ranches. Maybe he's just trying to fly a kite and make it look as if there's a controversy, and then if you just pay me, and then I will shut up or something like that. No. That's the way I look at it. I regret to say that on this issue, I don't take him very seriously at all. On this issue, I don't know about other things. Somebody I have a lot of respect for, but on this issue, I am even shocked. You have a very high level of insecurity in your state. I think Kaduna State is the capital of insecurity right now, apart from the idea of Boko Haram and ISWAP in the Northeast. Outside of terrorism, that state is the capital of insecurity right now, with all the military installations in Kaduna State. And then somebody else is trying to curb this thing, and then you flay it, you discuss it as if
you dismiss it.
You dismiss it. That's not fair. It's not fair to your colleagues. It is not fair to your colleagues for you to badmouth what they are doing. Does it mean that he doesn't want peace in this country, in this part of the country?
True.
Does it mean he just wants farmers and herders clashes to continue? And in any case, what are we talking about? The technology available now does not support the idea of open grazing.
At all.
So why don't you take advantage of these things? And he says he has 14 grazing reserves that he's prepared to turn them into
ranches.
Yes.
So what is
talking
from?
Well, actually, I think one of its major concern is that if ranching is the way to go, which actually is the way to go, the resources aren't available to kickstart the process.
Who says?
Because according to him,
who says so?
Let me quickly add. According to him, the legislation that is being passed right now by the state governors.
Esther, please don't even bring that argument. Who says? Look, there's money in this country. People are fooling all of us. They are stealing the money and they are diverting the money to other things. Who says there's no money in this country? There's plenty of... Go to Ikoyi and go and see houses that are being built and ask who are the people building those houses.
All right,
how did the governor of Kano set up his own grazing area? I went there, and the Fulani headers just said, we are going nowhere. This is where we are staying. We will no longer
continue
go
with this discussion, but we have a call. Charles, please go ahead with your contribution. Hello, Charles, can you hear me? If you are online, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good evening, everybody in the studio there.
Good evening.
Yes. I will appreciate if the journalists at times I wonder when they are interviewing some of these people from the northern elite. Can somebody ask the governor 805 whether he can allow his side or even for his family to carry cattle and roam about everywhere?
That's a good question.
Can any of them also allow somebody, after spending your money planting your crops, somebody comes into your farm and mess up the whole thing in your farm? The person like it. It's not unfortunate that somebody like him also wants the north to the southern part of Nigeria to have the same security challenges that they're having in the north. Or the governors are the chief security officer of their states, and when they do anything that will help protect the rights and property of the citizens, people that voted for them, it should be encouraged.
Point taken there, Charles. Thank you very much. We appreciate your insights. Babajide, you're about to give us your analysis on this issue.
Yeah, I know. You know, I said, how did the governor of Kano set up a grazing area in Dansoshia and Kano? I was there. Everything that they need. You see, we find it difficult to change, but it is cruel, wicked to imagine that it is best for the headsman to be roaming from Maiduguri all the way to Lagos. It's cruel. Kano State set this thing up. The governor of Kano was even the first to say it should be banned. The roaming cattle from the north to the south should be banned. And then he set up a grazing area. All that they need, he has provided. Even school, I saw them, they were building school for the children of the headsmen. They have a police post where they can be protected. That means even issues like cattle rustling will not happen. Then an artificial insemination facility was also set up to help them improve the production. Mm-hmm. And then they can also, their women don't have to go into the town seeking for who will buy their milk. Within the ranching area, within the ranch, you will also have a milk market. Veterinary doctors will come from time to time. And that project has been supported by even donor agencies. You can attract donations even for such projects. The UN and some of its agencies will be interested because they also want peace. They want peace. So this is the thing.
All right, now we're also still on this issue of insecurity. Let's also not forget that Kano State Governor Bello Masari says the bandits in the northwest outnumber security personnel in the zone. Katsina Governor, Aminu Masari, says bandits in the northwest outnumber security personnel in the zone. So, Lekon, what do you make of the statements credited to the Katsina State Governor, knowing fully well the level of insecurity bedeviling the northern region at the moment?
I recall that around the time General Babangida marked his 80th birthday, somebody suggested that, one of the interviewers suggested that it appears the security agencies in Nigeria are overwhelmed. And then he says, well, he wouldn't use that voice. He would say they are overstretched. Overstretched, overwhelmed, well, just semantics. I was in the police station on Monday and yesterday. The female police officer who was attending to me, I saw she was swamped. There's so much that she was doing. I had so much pity for her that how do they pile so much work on you alone in this place? The first day, on Monday when I got to her desk, I think I priced for about 15 people standing. She was doing jobs that even social workers ought to be doing. So I could see, and she was telling me that they are even underfunded. The paper, even her own seat, the chair she's sitting on, she probably bought it herself. All kind of things shows you that they are swamped. And then when people talk about, let's have state police, do you understand? Hey, see, okay, look at Lagos State. You have LASMA. It's a form of policing of traffic. You can almost count the number of police officers controlling traffic in Lagos now, because LASMA has taken that job off their hands, so they can concentrate on other things. So if some of us are arguing for state police, you say, well, state police, this is your schedule. There are state offenses, there are local government offenses, there are federal offenses. So this, I just told you that this woman yesterday and on Monday, she was even handling social security job, social workers' job. That should have been sent, that kind of job should have been sent to the social worker. But she's dealing with it as a police officer. She's swamped.
Not overwhelmed now.
Yeah, well, because I respect to General Babangida, so that we don't.
No, we just don't have enough policemen.
We don't have enough policemen.
For years we are not recruiting.
So it's obvious that we don't have enough.
For years we are not recruiting, and every year policemen die, policemen retire, policemen get dismissed. So you have to constantly recruit into the force. We are not doing that.
To hire 10,000 people became an issue. Just 10,000 police officers, it became an issue.
Yeah, between the Police Service Commission and the
ID, they were
police.
kicking the thing between themselves.
All right, but Babajide, how would you assess the fight against the banditry in the north, even as we understand that some states have shut down the telecommunications, to ensure that there is some level of peace and security, and it has been proved, according to them, that it is yielding positive results?
Yes.
How would you assess this?
What we hear is that it's yielding positive results, but as I always say, let's keep our eyes on the ball. Let's not jubilate too early so that we don't have eggs on our faces at the end of the day. We've been in this kind of situation before, especially talking about Boko Haram insurgency, when we felt that, look, we have literally won this war, no problem again, and then you see that you jubilated too early. I don't want to be involved in that kind of unbridled optimism, but I want to see an end to these marauders. Whatever we can do to exterminate them, we have to do it, and the army has to be supported to defeat these bandits. But I have no direct evidence from the war zone as per the level of success. The banditry is still going on. They are still kidnapping people as we speak. So you see Kaduna is still going on in Kaduna. I just hope that we'll get that military campaign right, and after a few months we will have a significant level of respite. That's all that I want to see. Sokoto too has shut down telecommunication, I think, for like 14 local governments. What will make people happy after all of these sacrifices to see that indeed these animals have been defeated. If we put our people through all this pain, because it will affect people's businesses and all that, and we can't point to a definitive victory, then people will say, what the hell? We are dealing with very determined people too, so we have to be focused, we have to be determined and tell them that, look, you can't defeat the Nigerian state. Whatever it costs, we are going to defeat you. That's how I want the military to be prepared.
All right, we have another caller from Kaduna. Hassan, please go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you so much for having me, Madam. Mr. Lekhan and Babajide, good evening.
Good evening.
My contribution, sorry, I'm taking you a bit back. My contribution is on the Akeredolu versus El-Rufai's issue. I want to I want to look at the political angle, Babajide. You see, God is not, is always awake and he sees things that are happening. This same El-Rufai and a few people with Fahimi and other governors install the governor of Ondo State, actually, as against Asiwaju's choice. Today he has become a problem to them. What is the problem? He is outrightly saying what should happen, what should be done, and they are not happy about it, and they are coming out to fight each other. He was brought in as against Asiwaju's choice, and nobody said anything at that time. The same people are now struggling to argue with Akeredolu. The only place I see that Akeredolu is missing it is as a son. He shouldn't have said power must shift to the south, because it's going to cause problem on the choice of a person we have from the south coming to the president. He should not, he must, because it's not in our constitution, and as a son, he should know better that threats cannot make the north vote for a southerner.
Hassan, thank you very much for your contribution. We appreciate your insights on the program. Well, this could go on a very quick break. We'll be back with more on Journalist Hangout after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. Well, according to a proverb, out of debt is out of danger. One can say then that an individual or a country in debt is in danger. A professor of political economy, Pat Utomi, has warned that Nigeria runs the risk of worsening economic situation and getting into another round of debt traps if it doesn't stop borrowing. Professor Utomi wondered why the government keeps borrowing from different places when the country doesn't have a national economic strategy. Lekon, according to the federal government, let's begin with this now. It says it is borrowing to build infrastructure and not recurrent expenditure. Now, what do you make of this position, amidst concerns of the country's rising debt profile?
First is a lie. They are borrowing to service debts. They are borrowing to fund recurrent expenditure. But let's even play the devil's advocate. Let's agree that it is true. Now, let's talk about railway line. You build railway line, you take a loan to build railway line. Rather than build railway line in Lagos, where I think about 30,000 people are moved in 1 hour. Is it 30,000 or 40,000 commuters in 1 hour? Mm-hmm. That is sustainable business right there. Wouldn't it be better for you to put let's talk about metro line. You put the Lagos metro line where you know that people will use it very well, and it will be easy for you to generate revenue above your repayment schedule, mm-hmm, as well as enough for you to be able to pay on time. That's one. Let's agree. I don't agree with them, but let's agree. Let's just, for this purpose, let's agree that number two is that we have a minister for finance and national budget. Budget and national planning, who is completely invisible. Now, this governor of Central Bank, his job is to control inflation rate, exchange rate, interest rate. That is his job. He is the one running the economy. So the man is confused. He's doing several things at the same time. Somebody said that without proper macroeconomic policies, which Professor Utomi is talking about, everything that Mr. Godwin Emefiele is doing is just wind. It won't get anywhere. Now, let us say you build railway lines. To carry what? Let us say you build railway line that will get to farm gates so that you can take farm produce from the farms to Lagos, for example, where it is consumed. But there is no economic policy to ginger farming or agriculture. You have merely wasted money on that infrastructure. Let's talk about power. You invest money, you bring Siemens to come and install 25 is it megawatts? What do they call it?
Megawatts.
Yes, and you have it in place. And there's no economic policies to get, look, I worked in an industry. I was general manager of a textile factory, a medium-sized textile factory for 10 years. So I know how industry works. Then you have electricity, but the macroeconomic policies do not support industry going. You are wasting your time. You have just wasted money. So we need to get the macroeconomic policies right. It is either that woman wakes up and starts to do her job, or the president must look for somebody who will do this job. You have a presidential economic advisory committee, totally invisible. We don't even know what they are doing. Just last week or so, their chairman sent something to us. Half of it, I couldn't even understand it. I read it. I was like, look, and I can see frustration in the figures that they are sending out. They are saying something indirectly. And the president, I'm sure, I don't even know if he reads those things. You understand? So I don't see a coherent, a cohesive, purposeful macroeconomic policies of this government. The governor of Central Bank is going beyond his schedule. He's going beyond his brief. And he's confusing himself. He's doing the job of central banking. He's also doing the job of macroeconomic policies. He's on him. He's on his own. There's no policies coming from the Federal Executive Council to back up what he's doing. And then he's talking about Aboki FX as if that is the major thing. So there's so much confusion. There's no coherent macroeconomic policies. Once that is lacking, I don't care how much monetary policies he comes up with, they will not work.
Babajide, with this position put down by Lekon, what are your thoughts generally on what the country is experiencing at the moment, where our level of borrowing has risen to as high as 366% since 2015? What are your thoughts?
I think that we have to slow down. We've got to slow down. We can't continue like this. We can't just be borrowing money at the rate we are going. I've seen the WTO DG advise us that if we are not careful, we'll fall into another debt pit. I've had our own Akinwumi at ADB say the same thing. Frankly, it makes sense to listen to such people because they are very knowledgeable about these matters. People talk about our debt to GDP ratio. To talk about debt to GDP ratio as it affects Nigeria is to be dishonest. We should be talking about debt to revenue ratio because our revenue does not support our
borrowing
appetites for debt. If your debt service to revenue ratio is 98%, I don't know how to explain it. I'm not an economist, but these are issues that are
simple,
just commonsensical, so easy to understand. Just read it again, read it a second time, you understand. I don't see how that is sustainable. And that is what Dr. Doyin Salami said the other day. That's the man who heads the Presidential Economic Advisory Committee. But how many times do they invite them to make input about how we manage our economy? We do not see signs that such an illustrious team is being put to quality use. I do not see that sign. We have brilliant people who can advise. We just can't continue along this path. If right now, if between January and May, we had logged deficit at 53.8% or so, just in 5 months. 53.8% of what we budgeted for as deficit, that what we envisioned, that okay, in this budget, and already in just 5 months, we're already talking about overtaking half of what was budgeted. What was budgeted for, for fiscal deficit. Then something is wrong. What would we be talking about by the end of the year, by December, for example, if by the end of May we had already passed the halfway mark? So this is the concern. We've got to energize the economy, cause growth to happen, do something better in the area of revenue generation, because we simply don't have the revenue. All the projections that you see in the budget, both the budget of last year and this year's budget, they have not been met from the revenue side. They are not being met. So something is wrong. Foreign direct investment is coming down. For the second quarter of this year, foreign direct investment stood at $875 million. That's the lowest since 2016. So it suggests that the sort of growth that we want to see is not happening. People say we must improve our tax base. If we improve tax base, of course it will help. Because right now, our tax base to GDP ratio is still around 7%. So we've got to do something along that line. But how do you tax people? How do you cause people to pay tax when the businesses are dying, businesses are not growing? Where are you going to find the people to pay the kind of quantum amount of money they are looking for by way of taxation? When businesses are struggling, businesses are dying. See what forex volatility is doing to businesses in our country. I've said this before. The CBN governor can get his hands soiled doing things that he was not assigned, employed to do. But what is the level of success of even his so-called monetary policy? If you came in to office at a time when the dollar was exchanging to the naira at 165 naira to a dollar, and it's now around 575. Yesterday was 575. Can you believe that? So how does he tell us that his methods are working? You as an individual, you don't have to be an economist to know that the CBN's governor's methods are not working. Now it's the PDP that is telling us to sack the CBN governor. I mean, there's just, I don't know. It is really worrying.
Our solution should be this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Food, clothing, and
shelter.
These are basic things. Let's feed ourselves first and reduce importation
of goods and services.
Of foods.
Right.
To start with. Food, clothing, and shelter.
But insecurity is getting in the way.
Exactly, that's where I'm going. And then agro-allied industry. That is the key to getting this economy back. And they just mounted. The governor of Central Bank is talking about anchor borrowers. We have given so many people.
But they are not paying. A lot of them are not defaulting. How will they pay? A lot of them are defaulting. That's the problem.
They can't pay. Like I said, the macroeconomic policies are not right. Nobody is thinking. Nobody is consulting the presidential economic advisory. Nobody is talking to them. I'm sure they are wondering, why did they hire us to come and do this job when they won't use? Have you observed that some of them go out on TV to talk individually? That tells you the level of
frustration.
I don't want to use the word idleness. You know.
No, but of course they have their own things that they are doing.
Yeah.
If you want to use them.
What I mean is that the job that you have asked them to do, you know, so they now begin to talk about it on an individual level.
I need to hold your thoughts for now. We need to take this call. Larry from Ilorin, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good evening, Babajide.
Good evening. Good evening.
I'm calling in respect of the issue in this sort now. I believe actually the problem of Nigeria is far more than the issue of the president. I believe those people that are being started to advise the president on the economy, they are all there and they are doing their best. But when your best, when what you are doing is not being appreciated, then people should leave. When they leave the government and they leave it for them, they know that what they are doing is wrong. That is my own opinion. They should try and go out when they see that the government is not listening to them. But when they are there and they are still there, then that means they are enjoying what they are being offered there. So at the end of the day, the blame is going to the president and will be on them too. So if they want to protect their integrity, they should please go out of the government and leave the government. Let them continue the way they want to. They will know that people are not happy with the way they are doing.
All right. Thank you so much, Larry, for your thoughts and contributions on the show. Well, we need to go on to our next issue of discussion. The Zulum hurricane continues to blow across Borno State in a bid to transform the state. Well, in one of his trademark unscheduled visits to public institutions, Governor Babagana Zulum caught management of the Ramat Polytechnic Maiduguri napping. Well, the governor discovered that virtually all the technical and mechanical workshops at various engineering departments and other teaching facilities at the institution were in deplorable condition, despite getting huge funds from the government. And the rector, Dr. Modu Kiari, has duly been suspended over poor management of the institution. Babajide, how do you react to this action? Do you think perhaps this is the governor is sending a strong message here? Well, what do you make of this?
Of course, it's always sent a strong message to people who work for him, to contractors. I've seen him storm a building site to look at the quality of building blocks that a contractor had on site. And being an engineer, it comes easy to him discovering where you've decided not to use the right materials and all that, and he will be destroying those things one by one. And he will tell them, look, I'm giving you another chance. I'm not going to revoke your contract, but I'm giving you another chance to make amends. Bring in the right quality of materials. If I come back here and you still haven't effected the changes that I asked for, then I will have no choice but to let you go. So for someone, this kind of leadership, this kind of style is really new to that state and to many states in our country. Governors hardly bother themselves to go from point to point trying to find out whether people are actually doing even the job for which they were engaged. Remember, on a particular night, he went to a state hospital, a specialist hospital in the state, and only a doctor hired by an NGO was on duty. He was very angry. He said they should fire everybody, you know. And I think invariably he relaxed the punishment. So from time to time, he enjoys going to these places. Sometimes schools, you go to a place very early to find out whether people who are reporting to work early enough. Remember the case of the Igbo woman. She was an early bird in the school where she had worked for 40 years.
Wow.
Yes. And the woman was duly rewarded by the governor, who promoted her to the rank of assistant head teacher. You know, she never knew she could rise to that level. I saw the woman, yes. I saw the woman the last time I went to Borno State. I interviewed her. So this is Zulum style. It's very unorthodox, very unusual. And this is one reason that a lot of people like him. this coup, and I could say that yes, he got extremely angry. Don't forget that he used to be the rector of this school. This was where Governor Shetima headhunted him and made him a commissioner. So he would not want to come back to such a school that he could say made him, and see that things were in such a terrible shape. So you could say that yes, he got too angry, but Ramat Polytechnic must be an emotive issue for him because he was the director for years. You know, so to go back to that place, you know, some form of homecoming, and then see that things had fallen apart, I could feel his anger. But you know, one can only appeal to the governor that it is not in all cases that you take extreme actions, you know. But it's someone who is never afraid to take the big decisions, as we have seen, even with places, dangerous places that I used to go to and try to confront Boko Haram and all that. But I can feel his anger, but I would advise that it's not in all cases that you take an extreme action. I read somewhere where they said, the governor said the place was in a deplorable condition despite huge amount of government funds injected. That could be another source of anger that I think I've done enough
for this institution.
Yes, for us to see changes at this institution. Where
did the monies go?
Yes, where did the money go? Which then means that he has to also investigate from top to bottom how the funds that were disbursed to the school were utilized.
Right. Lekon, with this move by the governor, do you think this is enough to spark any meaningful development in the state, for instance? Even though it might seem, well, he went there with some media and all of that. One could say, well, it's more of a show, even though it might be a style of scheduled visits. Do you think perhaps it will spark any meaningful development as well?
Actually, my initial reaction is just as you have said. I thought it was like a showboating as far as I was concerned. You see, one, if it is true that they are actually sending so much money, what method of monitoring does that state have? The minister or the commissioner, sorry, for higher education or whoever is in charge of that he's now being asked to sort of act now. He himself, is he complicit? Has he been monitoring activities of all the higher education institutions in the state? Is there a reporting system such that without the governor leaving his office, you get a daily report of what is happening? Money disbursed, was it spent? In government, when you go through the gamut of tenders board and the rest of them and all that, when you procure equipment, there's something called store receipt voucher. The store officers will receive that these items are being received into the store. When it is issued out, there's SIV, store issued voucher. So, and there are several copies of this. Where do they go? Where do the distribution of these things go? Does the commissioner even know that items that were ordered for have been received?
Or the PAMSEC.
Or the PAMSEC. You know, that is one. Another issue is this, that is it enough to just ask him to go home if indeed money has been sent to them and there's no evidence of the money spent? Shouldn't somebody pay for this? Shouldn't somebody be prosecuted?
Of course.
Shouldn't the police be invited so that the rector should be handed over to the police and then taken to the court and prosecuted?
Yeah.
And if found guilty, dealt with. There has to be consequences. It's not enough to showboat and say, oh, well, I sack him. And that is not enough. That's showboating. Let's have concrete internal control system. Let's have strong financial control system. Let's have strong monitoring and reporting system all across. That's what is called corporate governance.
Right.
There has to be, and then there has to be consequences. If somebody now, how long has this man been rector? Maybe you need to go back. Maybe somebody else before him has even been playing games with these things. So they need to go and call him back. I say, several years ago, money was given to you for what happened? So it may not just be the current.
It may have been on for some time.
Yes. So there has to be a system.
I think that's the best thing to do. Let all the corporates pay for their sins, in inverted commas. I don't think it's the style of the governor to showboat. It's just someone in a hurry. He's put his life on the line. He had to be advised to stop going to Baga, for example, or by road, because he was going. He said, "If I die, I die." You know. So, but given the nature of our country, the nature of even practices associated with civil servants, if you don't prosecute some of them, make examples out of them, not simply dismissing people, get them to face prosecution, this sort of thing will happen again.
Right.
So that's my own advice to the governor. There has to be a comprehensive investigation of the state of things in that school.
Right.
For how many years have things degenerated this much? Because it has been away for a long time. Now, what should then be done to ensure that this sort of thing does not happen again? That the governor does not have to go there personally. A structure has to be put in place by way of monitoring development, so that the governor doesn't have to go there and physically see that the place is a mess.
Well, that's about where we can leave today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Thank you very much, Babajide, for your insights, and Lekon Shote, we appreciate your insights as well on the program this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of it. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the program, and don't forget to join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Mopariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.